Welcome to the Black Sheep Believers podcast. Hi, I'm Jess.
And I'm Alicia.
Have you ever felt like you didn't belong?
A misfit, outcast.
Too loud, or even like a black sheep? Us too.
Yep. Black Sheep Believers is a podcast of honest conversations for those seeking, questioning, and deepening their relationship with Jesus.
So let's have the hard but real conversations around feeling misunderstood and misplaced, but feeling fully accepted by the God that created us. Welcome home, Black Sheep.
Welcome back to episode 13 of Black Sheep Believers. We're so happy you guys are here. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Jess.
Jess, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about friendships. And friendships. Why did I say it so?
I'm sorry. Just said today we're talking about friendships.
Friendships. You know, grown-up friendships are really tricky. And for women, I feel like what men need and what women need are like so decisively different. And in some ways, it's like very similar. But I think when we have them, it's radically like enriching and powerful when we have the right ones, good ones. And when we don't have it, it feels like a very big void, regardless of what else we have in our life. Mm-hmm. Like to have good sister girls, good friendships with girls, platonic connections with women, and it's just so critical in our life, and it's also extremely tricky. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and I think it's specifically to like middle-aged women. It's really hard because you're like acquiring friends as you grow, right. And some friendships you've had since you were like a really young person, and they've went through all these milestones with you, and then some people are coming in like right in the middle, and that's kind of exciting too.
Totally.
Finding friends for specific seasons is also like such a blessing too. I look back on my friendships, and of course I have like my solid core group of friends that have kind of lasted throughout the years, but I don't know. I think the ultimate hack in terms of friendship is to be friends with people who are not just your age.
Ooh.
Having younger friends and older friends, and it keeps you constantly growing in ways that you wouldn't normally. So yeah, I think friendships are hard, but I think they're also really easy at the same time when you are looking at like not just like what a friendship provides for you, but what you can provide for a friendship as well.
Totally.
And I know too, you know, I've worked with women my entire life.
Totally.
And I've kind of gotten in a really lucky way. I've got to be friends with my people that I work with. And so I've gotten to kind of have like those friendships. And then I've also like the Lord has been so wonderful in bringing me this group of friends out of nowhere that I had no idea that one, that I needed,
right.
but two, that it was going to happen. So I think that's what's cool, like surprising friendships that come out of nowhere, or seasons, you know, when you're really praying for friendships, you know, and God answers those prayers. Like friendships are one of those things that it's really hard to, I think, have the experience of a woman totally and completely without your friends.
Yes.
So let me ask you this, because Jess collects people. Y'all gotta know.
Okay, that. I'm not Voldemort. I don't have Horcruxes. So when you say collect people, please specify, because that's really tricky.
No. She collects people. She will meet you one time, and she's your friend.
Oh, sure.
And it's a beautiful thing. And so when I say that, it's like endearing that you collect people. It's not creepy like
Hagrid collects animals. Okay, I'll take that.
Jess collects people, and we can't go anywhere without like either Jess will know everyone, or she will quickly know everyone. I don't know how many times we've been somewhere and she'd be like, come over here. I just met Sally, and oh my gosh, Sally's got a crazy story. She's going to tell you all about it. Like the way you connect people is really beautiful, and not like you don't just collect people like as yourself. So you're constantly connecting other people. It's a really beautiful thing. So hearing Jess talk about friendship is a cool thing, because I don't think there's anybody that does it better.
Oh, wow. That's high praise. I think there are lots of people that are really good at being friends, but also I love that we just off the high dive dove so fast into our topic. There was no small talk. It was like, hi, everybody. We're talking about friendship today. And right now, we're going to start.
Well,
I'm just so proud of you.
I'm a no lube person.
Right.
There's no warm up. We just dive right into it.
Oh my God.
Your mom listens to this, doesn't she?
I'm so obsessed with you. My mom listens. My dad does too. It's gonna be great. I'm really excited about what the episode when it gets. He's really far behind, so he's gonna like that. In 5 months, he's gonna be like, "Excuse me." Okay, so let's talk. What you were just saying. Thank you so much. That's very high praise. I would say I was a terrible daughter before I was a great friend. Okay, so like I always wanted to be with my friends. Right now I have a son and he would much prefer leaving my house to go be with other people. And I feel a lot more deeply how much that kind of hurts my mom heart and how much it absolutely hurt my parents because I was wanting to be friends with friends all the time, always. It was the only role I really wanted. I was okay with being a sister because it was another friend. It was just being a friend to my roommates, But like, so I say that. I was a great friend at the expense of other hats that I could wear. And the Lord has really had to show me at times, like, how can I choose, like, the people that share my DNA? How do I choose them and show them the kind of friendship I show people that aren't? Okay? So, like, kink in my armor, I've just given it to you. However, when it comes to friendship, I have navigated friendship from a lot of different vantage points. And there was a gal on social media that I saw the other day, and she was talking about how she had to move at like critical seasons, like in her childhood. And she knew what it was like to feel very lonely. And I was bullied really bad in middle school. And then I went 2 years at a high school that was like warm, inviting, happy. I mean, it was just like big, happy family, and it was awesome. And then I went to a different high school and like, I don't keep up with anybody from that high school. So I say, I collect people, but like there were long spouts of time where there was a real friendship drought for me in high school. And then again, like right after college, I mean, I've already talked about my girls from college and, we were texting today and I've got like 20 minutes of audio messages that I still need to listen to from them. But there was a drought right after. My kids, all my friends, my whole crew, every single person I went to high school with, within 2 years did not live in the same city as me. And I still lived in the city that I went to college in. Like literally everybody moved away. And that's when I found the power of friendship outside of my age. That's when I started connecting with, at 22, I was connecting with women in their mid-30s and almost 40, with children, with established careers, with husbands, and I was able to see such a crazy vantage point, such a humility from women that were willing to learn from this 20-something. There were like so many really cool things that I learned in that season. And then again, like in my early 20s, when I started to grow a family, there was another season where there was a big drought. And then again, when I moved from one city to another, and I had connections in this, the city that we moved to. She and I are based in Tulsa. I had lived in Tulsa for 3 years and then was gone for 9 and then moved back. And it was really hard to establish who my people are, that wanted mutually the same, mutually benefiting the same amount of time that I wanted and needed, the amount of like willingness to initiate friendship. Like there's a lot of dynamics to it, and it has evolved over the 20 years I've been a grown-up. Mm-hmm. And I would say that's true about literally all of us, unless you've lived in the same town your whole life and the only people that you know are the people that you went to preschool with. For everybody else, you've got to figure some stuff out in every single season about who you are, because that's a huge factor in being a friend. Is how are you going to be, who do you want to be? Who else wants to be people similar to that? What ambition, goal, values, like where do those lie? Do you share them? And then there's another dynamic that changes, post college, you become an adult, and then the dynamic of dating, and then marriage, and then children by age, and by activity. I mean, like, there's so many elements to our life that friendships somehow have to fit or retrofit into, that I think it's good that we're talking about it, because I wonder how many people are turning to podcasts of all kinds, not just ours, but podcasts to fill a void that maybe friendships are leaving.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Not just for entertainment, but maybe for connection,
Well, I think we are a society that is not starved with information. We're starved with connection.
100%.
And especially like now, something that kind of gets integrated into friendships is that we see what one another is doing all the time, but we're not actually like connecting and telling that,
Right.
I know so many times where I really haven't experienced this much because I put my whole life on social media. Ain't nobody got to worry about what I'm doing. They know. They're like, that's
yesterday.
what Alicia's doing today. But, my friendships within friendships, there's been a lot of communication breakdown with friendships.
Wow.
And this is something we could definitely touch on is, sometimes we see some friends doing things.
Yes.
And then we're like, oh, I'm not doing that with them. But there's no like face-to-face connection. And so there's so much miscommunication that goes into that. Or, you see your friend and you're like, oh, they look like they're doing good. I'll call them another time. When in actuality, that friend might be really struggling.
Right.
But on social media, everything looks
fine.
great. So let's start there. How do you think good friend connection happens?
Yeah.
Like how can, in your opinion and your experience,
Totally.
how can you really connect with people to become friends and then have good connection in those friendships?
Great question. Okay. So if you really want to do a deep dive into friendship and studying about friendship, and we're going to get to the spiritual stuff here later. But if you're interested in just learning from a friendship expert, I learned just yesterday, Mel Robbins, who I adore. Like, I just love, she's like
I
a
love
life
her
coach.
voice.
Yeah, she's got a great voice. She's got some great books out there, and she does her own Audible. She does her own voice for the audiobooks, so highly recommend her. I don't know where she is on the faith scale. She is a completely secular and, communicator. However, she had a friendship expert on her podcast, the Mel Robbins podcast. The episode, I literally wrote it down. I'm completely endorsing. I've not listened to the whole thing. Okay, guys? I've not listened to it. So I just caveat, I have no idea what tangent I may or may not align with. However, the episode is the real reason adult friendship is so hard and 3 ways to make it easier. Okay, so that's the episode title. The person that she had on, this friendship expert's name was Danielle Bayard Jackson. And she says that women look for 3 things in friendship. The first is symmetry. The second is support. And the third is secrecy. But I'll need to unpack some of them really quickly. And I'm going to give the Reader's Digest version again. Mel Robbins, go follow her. You can learn more from the expert. Symmetry is like the equality between the two of us. We don't have to look the same in that way, but we have to share a mutual respect and understanding that there's no hierarchy between you and me. Okay, there's an even playing field between you and me.
Okay.
The second is support, and that's I got you, you got me. I'm in need. I need to make a phone call, something's happening, and I just need to reach out to somebody, and you're the contact, you know? That sort of like, if something were to happen to me, you would care.
Yeah. Yeah.
If something were to happen, and it's mutual, it's a mutual support system between you and me. And then the third is secrecy. And not only are we a vault where you're going to share vulnerably with me about what's going on, and I'm going to keep that information from whomever you don't want to know that information. It's not just that. It's mutual vulnerability, where I'm willing to be as equally vulnerable to you as you choose to be with me.
Genuine.
But vulnerable. Not just genuine, not just authentic, but I'm telling you what's happening in here.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm telling you the good, the bad, the ugly, and you are also reciprocating that. Because some of the breakdown with a lot of women is that they don't feel that mutual vulnerability between them and their friend. They don't feel that mutual support where if something bad were to happen to me, it would matter to you.
Yeah.
And then they don't feel like if you feel threatened at all between you and another female, there's no true connection that can penetrate beyond that top barrier. You know what I mean? Isn't that interesting?
That's good. That's good.
Okay, so full credit, Danielle Bayard Jackson.
Here's the thing, though, about it. Not that I don't disagree with it.
Sure.
I think that, what's really interesting is that I know so many women who seek out friendships that are, this is interesting. The first one, what was the first one?
Symmetry.
I know so many women that will seek out likeness, but not actually like heart likeness.
Totally.
And I know specifically, I probably did this a lot when I was younger. Like I remember like becoming friends with people and being like, I don't know if we would react in that same situation or whatever, but we like the same things and we're into the same thing and we can do the same things together. And I think sometimes that gets a little tricky because you'll get into that. So I see why that is really important in a good friendship, because you can kind of, I think you fall into that quickly because it's so easy to be friends with people who do what you do. Or I think how many times I've been friends with people that I'm like, are we really friends? I don't know, but we hang out all the time because we like doing all the same things. Like,
interesting. So there's like proximity friendship.
Yes.
And
I would call it acquaintances.
Yes.
There's a lot of acquaintance friendships. The last two are what make the really, really good friendships. And I think most relationships kind of start off as acquaintances. I mean, I don't know, unless you're Jess and I, and then we can't do surface level conversation.
We can't. Actually, I'm going to give you an example of what happened this week. So this week was Easter Sunday. So Alicia and I were at church, and there was a woman that was sitting near her that was there by herself. And I was already in the lobby, and I saw Alicia running like a bison, like stampede. Like she was hustling to catch up with this one woman, and I could see it. I can see you trying to get to her, and I stood in front of this lady, and I was like, "Hi, I'm Jess."
What was wild is I did not know you were there.
Oh, yeah.
And you showed up, and I was like, in my head, I was like, how did you know? But I was like, don't be creepy, Alicia. Like, don't let this lady know that Jess and I literally just pulled off a
heist.
Yeah, it really.
We literally turned on. We totally Ocean's 11.
Yes.
Judo mind tricked this woman, and we kind of cornered her. We put baby in the corner.
In like a very
but here's what was really sweet. Okay, it sounds like we attacked this woman. We didn't. But I saw, and I know Alicia well enough to know the Lord told her to get this woman's attention, and that meant that I needed to support that. I needed to throw fire on this connection. By the end of this conversation, we learned that she and we dealt with chronic pain and like instant connection. And she it was like crazy how similar our stories were. So it was like a God wink for us both. But that's an example of, to me, the symmetry of commitment to doing what the Lord asks us to do, and it being around loving people. And I think that's where I would like add to what you said is the symmetry will evolve over time as you emotionally mature.
That's good. That's good. Yes.
So I have seen women, even at my age in their 40s, still be drawn to women because of the way that they physically appear and assume because you and I dress similarly that we would be friends. What I've learned now, and sometimes that face value is an indicator, right? Like there are going to be times where you see someone, you see how they're dressed, and you think, or just something physically about them, and you think, okay, there might be some connection there because we have similar. What I have learned is as I've had more birthdays, because some women, they don't need the amount of birthdays I need to emotionally evolve. Some of you, you're just like,
You got it.
you've got it figured out. Praise God for you. I can't wait to see when you get to my age, like what you've learned, because I'll be like in a wheelchair, like finally, oh, I got it. Anyway, the point I'm making here is for like, as I get older, I'm starting to realize that there are different indicators of symmetry that I'm looking for in friendship. And it's
Like
not
what?
just physical or just like you and I both like having our nails done. I mean, like it
Yeah.
needs to be deeper. What I'm looking for with most friendships that make me feel like there is it is the dignity that you give to other people that don't serve you, that aren't at your level. This is what I mean. I am looking for friends that are kind to servers, to the woman at the grocery store that's working. I'm looking for the friends that are going to see people that other people would consider invisible.
Yeah.
You care about them, we've at least got something. Yeah. You have earned this kind of respect you should expect from me.
Yeah.
Like you should respect me and I should respect you in the same way. How are we showing up for people who have nothing that could propel us upward?
Yeah.
Do you know? That is a really important indicator to me.
That's so good. And I think it's also something that sometimes when you're in a season of maybe loneliness or you don't have your people, you're living internally and you're just like, nothing is serving me. No one is showing up as my support system. And it's all like me, I.
Yeah.
And when you start actually looking outward
Yes.
into, okay, how I don't have my people right now. Okay. But like, how can I
Yeah.
serve others? I think what that does is it allows you, one, to get really comfortable spending time with yourself, not thinking about yourself. And that is so important for emotional growth.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times that maybe you're not finding your people because you are only trying to find yourself, right? Yes. And we're all guilty of that. We're
totally.
all guilty of that
100%.
when we get into that like self narrative of like, what can serve me? What do I need? But I think a lot of times, and I've experienced this too, is like when I stop worrying about just my needs 24/7 and how I don't have them. And specifically when I take that to the Lord and I'm like, there's been so many times where I'm like, Lord, I don't know what it is. I don't even know what to pray, but I do know that like I can be kind and I do know that I can show up for others. And I do know just even in my small day-to-day decisions, like I can do that, Lord. I can do that. And we can talk about that, Lord. I'm shocked how many times that normally leads me to something that I was needing. And it's because I took the focus off of self for a second.
Yeah, girl.
And I think in friendships, I love that you said that because I really, up until you said that, I think I do that all the time, but I never noticed it.
Right.
And maybe we all do.
Yeah.
Because we're in any relationship, whether platonic or romantic or whatever, ultimately, you're looking for someone who takes care of others. the way you do, because ultimately that's also how they'll take care of.
Oh, sure. For me, I so want to posture my heart to bring good, that I want that the type of friendship I am looking for won't be perfect in this way, but will also want that. Yeah. We'll also want to be outward, to be introspective and outward focus.
Yes.
I want a friend who is introspective. I'm going to self-reflect. It's such a key indicator of emotional health, is to be able to reflect upon my actions and make pivots and acknowledge you're wrong and acknowledge when the Lord needs to do an extra work in you. Like, there are so many really important things that go with that. And at the same time, they're also outward focused in that they want to bring good to the people that they come into contact with.
Yeah.
And those are really important. And I would also say, if you are self-reflective and able to admit that you're wrong and all of that, there's an emotional development that makes things like jealousy less common, because I'm reflecting on why something hits me funny, right? And I could be like, okay, that's jealousy talking. That's part of my ego. That ego doesn't have a place in my narrative. I need to realign what I mean, what I need, why it's okay for that person to be doing that thing. I mean, like, there's so many things about self-reflection that are like so critical in human development. And it also it gives permission to that other person to be who they are, you know, and to do their own self-reflection. But then when we are coming around the world, we are a light. We are, spring water to the parched world that we live in. And those are two really important factors. I got to give a shout out, just real quick. I got to give a shout out to my girl, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is my bestie from college. I've got some really great friends that I'm still tied, close with. And I'll say there was something about my friend. Okay, before I get to Elizabeth, let me talk about Shannon real quick. Shannon was my best friend from high school. We spent every weekend together. And she is as introverted as I am extroverted. Okay, like, she needed to drive around and get her she needed to drive around and like take a couple laps before she picked me up. So she had enough introvert time before we were together, because I came in like a tornado. Like, I would get in her car and it would just be like, boop, boop, boop. No, in a good way. Like,
You're
like
so
I filled her up, but
demure.
you're just,
You're
I know.
so
No. I'm a Tasmanian devil. Okay, but here's the thing. Like, with Shannon, what I learned from her is a very gracious, like, she was a gracious friend, and she always let me be exactly who I was.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was Shannon, and like, big ups to Shannon. I love you so much with my whole heart. I'm so glad that I get to know you as a mom, and we're about to be 40. Okay, so that's so fun. Elizabeth is my pal, and what I love about our friendship is that she goes down into the depths of her soul and just hands it over to me.
I love that.
And she expects that kind of vulnerability from me. And when we reciprocate it with one another, like when she hands me her soul, I don't coddle her. Mm-hmm. She wants for me to be as honest and truth-telling as she needs it. And she takes it in the chin. I mean, there have been times where I have stopped her from talking in a moment to say, I am not going to endorse that lie that you're saying right now. And we're praying right now. I mean, like, I have had to assert that kind of authority over her. And that same thing goes for her, that she is able to say the hardest possible thing to me. And it is a gift. I think there's a proverb that says that, like, a wound from a friend is like a kiss. It is such a beautiful picture of what I believe Jesus would have done to us as friends, to be able to give you the deepest, darkest parts of us and to sit in it knowing that the other person is going to say exactly what the truth is, regardless of how it makes us feel. And you know how it feels? It feels like somebody gives a crap. That's what it feels like when she's honest with me, when she brings a light bulb to the very dark thing that I'm thinking or I'm doing or I'm believing, it feels like she is showing up for me. And I feel that same for her. And so that's the kind of friendship that I'm looking for, where like and I'm so thankful that I have those two friends as examples. And then Alicia, she gave me a big shout out. I'm going to give it to her. What's great about Alicia, just absolutely fantastic about Alicia, is that she has a bit of the tism. Okay, this is a great start.
Why do we
She has
always
a
give
bit
each
of
other
autism.
compliments that sound like
I know. We slap each other before we hug.
first they're sweet, then they're sour? Or wait,
Okay,
sour.
well, yeah, same. Okay, but she has a bit of the tism, but she's very attuned to the kind of energy I'm feeling. So even if it's a sleight of eye, where like I look away for a second, she'll catch if I'm feeling, and for me, I have ADHD, and so there's some neurodivergence in me as well.
Thriving.
She catches it really fast. Her dog alerts her when there's something. She alerts me, like she's like my service dog, and same. And I mean, but like she's taught me how to do that, and so I actually was able to catch someone having a panic attack before their panic attack the other day, and it's because of this influence that you've had on me. And so she's quick, so quick. If we're in the middle of something and she can see that my wheels are turning, she'll pause, she'll press that pause button and be like, okay, where are you at? And she gets there before I do. I don't even know. Give me a second. But you are so good at being so present in the moment that you allow for your body to show up in a way that is unique to how God wired you. And it makes you a really great friend.
Thanks.
What would you say? You said something earlier that I loved.
Really sweet.
Yeah. Good job perceiving it.
Thank you.
One of the things that you said, I know, you're like, I don't like this. I want us to talk very funny.
We're both working on receiving compliments.
I know, just take it, girl.
We're working on it.
Okay, so there was something you said earlier about like what happens when there's a void and you don't have the friends that you need. You said something really cool about like going to the Lord about it and then focusing outside of yourself and not thinking about yourself. Loved that. Whoa, powerful. So in what ways have you felt, now that you're like new to the Jesus thing, how have you felt like God has been a good friend to you? How has God been a good friend to you?
The hardest and easiest question to answer ever.
Right.
I'll start off with friendships.
So you said something so good earlier about like the way that you can maybe fill the void that maybe friendships have left by not thinking about yourself all the time. Oh my gosh, that was so good. Yeah, so good.
I have a lot of experience in thinking about myself. So.
Okay. But like I love thinking about what it looks like to like fill that void. And we're going to have it, friends. We're going to have it. It's just going to happen. There are going to be ebbs and flows. Even your besties are going to have seasons where they're inaccessible. Okay, so even if you have your people, there are going to be times where your people won't be there for you when you need them. And how have you, being 2 years into getting to know the Lord, getting to know God, how has God showed up for you as a friend in those times? Because we've kind of touched on it. But you've had to make radical changes to certain friendships. You've had to pretty much cut ties with certain friends. Certain friends have cut ties with you more often because you chose Jesus, and they've really not received that, and they want to distance themselves because they don't. They have opinions about your newfound faith. So, how has Jesus showed up for you as a friend?
Well, that's a really hard question to answer because I could go all day long. I will say this. I'm an extroverted and an introverted person.
Yeah, me
but
too.
Prior to really having a relationship with Jesus, I was a really toxic, independent person, which I thought independence was such a like badge of honor, like so much merit. You should be so proud of how independent you are. And independence like is a good thing. But the reason I was so independent is because I never had relationships that I could depend on. So
Whoa.
for friendships with me, and I still had great friendships or whatever, but I always kind of had friendships knowing that at the end of the day, I could only really rely on myself. And so what that kind of led me to is prior to the last couple years, I had friends, but I did not have relationships that I would invest a lot in emotionally, not because those people ever really showed me like that I couldn't, but because there was like a deep internal thought of like, you can only really depend on yourself. Right. So, you know, it's kind of that old saying, like cut ties before someone can hurt you. Yeah. That's kind of how I was seemingly like unconsciously having friendships, is like I had friends, but I was never really like letting them in. And so when I came to the Lord, I really didn't think I needed friends the same way I didn't think I needed Jesus, and I didn't think I needed help. I was just like, oh, look how independent I am. I'm so independent. I don't even need these friendships. And what had happened is and we've talked about this on the podcast before, I got really, really sick. And all those things that used to fill me up, I could no longer do. And so I was just sitting with myself, not being able to do any of the things that kind of kept that void. And I didn't even ask for this because I thought that I didn't need it. And that is just even more proof of how God is your friend, because he said, I'm going to send you some friends, and it's going to be unexpected, and it's going to be from the most farthest place that you imagined. Right. And guess what? In that season, they're going to sit with you, not because of what you can do for them, right, not because of like how independent you are and how you don't need any. They're going to sit with you because they love you, yeah, and they care for you. And even more, I know you're not going to ask them to, and they're just going to want to be there. So the first thing that Jesus ever did for me, and not only like did he send me friends, but like how he cared for me in that time by wanting to give me not what I asked for, or not even what I thought I need, but what I actually needed. And I started becoming really good friends with people that I just assumed that I didn't need to be good friends with. I know that sounds really crazy, but I think a lot of people walk through life really thinking that they don't need friends because they've got it all figured out.
Or they need to get it all figured out.
Or that and that was probably the first experience. Jesus is a friend to me because not only can I come to him without judgment, right, I can come to him expecting the truth, but that the truth is going to be fair and that's going to be loving.
Whoa.
And it's shown me how to really be a friend. It's changed my relationships. Not that I never wanted to care for people. Like someone told me the other day, I must have the gift of exhortation. I still don't even know what that means. But when I see when I see potential in a person, yeah, I cannot leave it alone. I have to encourage you. Yeah.
That's exhortation.
Yeah. I have to.
You're describing it.
I mean, I can't leave it alone. And yeah, I see potential in every person, and even if you are completely different than me, we have nothing in common. Right. If I can see your heart, like I love it, and I want to genuinely know like what is your heart. Right. And then like you said, I pick up on those things. It's probably a trauma response, honestly.
Maybe.
But I pick up on those things because I want to know who you are, because I want to encourage every single ounce of you. And I think that is a lot of the ways Jesus shows up for us too, as friendships. And so that I obviously got from the Lord, and I'm learning more and more, you know, not just how to be a better friend, but how to allow people to be good friends to me too.
It's good.
Because when you're so independent to the point that it's toxic, what you do is it's not that like, yes, you're keeping people at a distance, but also you're not allowing people to love on you, which they need too. Right. Friends need to be wanted and needed.
Yeah. There are people that are out there that are takers and there are people that are out there that are givers. And so there are women that we become friends with that may or may not be able to give to you what you need. And I like that you said about when the Lord became your friend, he gave you something that you didn't know you need. I think we need to be humbled by the reality that there are times where what we're looking for isn't what we need because we don't even know what we need.
Yeah.
And so there are going to be times that that we will manufacture energy towards friendships that we've had for a long time, that maybe we've gone through hard things with, and they're not at a place where they can give you what you truly need. So you got to know what you need. You got to know what you're able to give. And then you also have to find people that that aren't exclusively givers and aren't exclusively takers. And because the givers, like what the friendship expert Danielle Bayard Jackson would say, like, if people are exclusively givers and they can't be vulnerable with you, they can only take care of you, there's a limit to what kind of intimacy, and I'm talking about platonic intimacy, but what kind of intimacy you can have with them. In the same way that if there's a friend that only dumps on you and they don't give you the kind of symmetrical, supportive secrecy, they don't welcome it from you, then there's a limit to the kind of depth of friendship you can have with them. And so I'm not saying that if they're not deep, your people, that you should not be friends. That's one thing that, like, we've got to make clear, that, like, there are people that we could have in our life that don't have to be like our exclusive select few, in the same way that Jesus had a crowd of people. That crowd of people he ministered to and loved on, and he would go to homes and he would have dinner and he would get to know them and he would have a great time with them. And then there were 12 people that he considered disciples, and even before that crowd, there was like another bundle of people that were like roadies for him, that were traveling, that were, still just in proximity with him, that he loved them very well. There were several women that are mentioned that were close to Jesus that he invested in, and they weren't considered the 12. So there was still even like another group. And then within that 12, those were the guys that he was giving all of his effort into. He was giving them every lesson. They were part of everything he did, in the same way that a rabbi had a following of disciples back in that, day that were, culturally, that was culturally normal. There were people that would follow this rabbi and mimic everything that he did, and he taught them everything, right? So then there were that 12. But then he called, in the Garden of Gethsemane, when he was praying right before he went to the cross, or right before he got arrested, he brought 3 guys. And there were a few times that he brought these 3 guys to other very critical moments where he needed them. He wasn't just investing in them. He needed them. He needed their friendship. And so we got to keep in mind that, like, there might be different kind of boundaries, maybe is the word, but there's going to be different categorical friendships that we can keep in our life. And what we're talking about today is like these people.
Well, if you're not,
right?
If it's not reciprocal, if you're not giving and receiving, that relationship is only going to be strong for a season. And it's the same thing with your faith. Yeah. If you're not giving and receiving, like with the Lord, like you're only going to want the Lord for a season. And I think that's how relationships have growth to them. And I know I've had experiences where I look back and I'm like, man, why didn't that friendship last? And I think because it was built on something that could only sustain a season, because it was one person giving and one person only receiving. And so that's really good to break that down, because I think if you took a little checklist of relationships, you could really do a checks and balances system.
Right.
Not just in how a person is showing up to you as a friend, but how you're showing up as a friend.
Right. And I could look back and be like, man, I wasn't my best friend there. I didn't give to them what they needed. There were also times where I had to scale back on certain friends because their values didn't align with me and where I thought I was going. They weren't emotionally evolving in the way that I felt like I needed to emotionally evolve. And it came at great personal expense at times where I just pulled back. I just decided this particular friend and this friendship, I'm not able to give to them what I feel like they need. They're not able to give to me. There's a lack of mutual benefit here. And so we have to be okay with there being people in our life that are kind of further out on the spectrum where they can just be acquaintances that we love when we see them. And then there could be people in our life that are friends circumstantially, and we might not talk to them all the time, but when we get together, it's just so fruitful and beautiful, and we can bless them and they can bless us, but it's not this habitual connection that we make, that we're committed to this friendship sustainably. And then there's like our people, and our people, as I get older, I am more and more comfortable with that group being minimal. I remember like a season not too long ago, I'm afraid, that I dictated how successful I was in life by how many people would post about me on my birthday, because I would see these like super friendly people, especially in my 20s, like late 20s, when like your friend group was still kind of, like there were lots of different places where you would get friendships. And like I would see friends reposting, from 10 people who posted about their birthday. And I was like, dang, I must suck as a friend, and I must not have great friends because nobody's posted about me on my birthday. And I found that to be such a disproportionate benchmark, like such an unnecessary benchmark. I've also learned that like what I really need, only a few people need to give it to me. Like what I really need.
Correct.
Only a few people really need to give it to me because I have the Lord first, because he is the very best friend. And then what I'm able to give is limited because of how much need is going out of me for my kids, for my spouse, for my job. Like there's some other factors there. And then what I really need is to be known by just like a few. And then the rest of the people that I come into contact with that I can enjoy, they're just pals that I get to celebrate and just you know what I mean? And then the expectation changes. The expectations for each of those groups are radically different.
You know what I love that you're doing there? What? You're explaining that you no longer need a workspace friendship.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think that's something that, like, friendships, especially for women, as we evolve and we grow and we have different things that need our attention, we have different responsibilities. The amount of time, the amount of time that is put into a friendship has to be flexible, or it just doesn't work, right? And I think kind of like why it reminded me of like a workspace system is there are some friendships that
you're saying works-based, not workspace.
Works-based.
Love it.
Okay.
Now I'm with you.
Okay. Works-based friendship, meaning that if you don't spend all this time together, you still have faith in one another, right? That you're friends, you can still connect with one another, than just seemingly showing up,
right?
Or proving to the outside world,
right,
this is my friend. You know what I'm saying? And I think we kind of fall into that, and then maybe sometimes too why friendships have a hard time when we do go through life transitions is because we're basing a lot of the friendship on how much we can show the world that we're best friends. Also, how much we can physically show one another. Like, so-and-so came to my birthday, so-and-so didn't come to my birthday.
Right.
Or, like,
I haven't seen her in a month.
What
kind of friendship is she?
Yeah. She didn't text me today. Like, and it sounds so petty to say out loud, but I mean, if you really sit down, I think everyone's kind of probably had that. And that's kind of what it feels like, is you're basing how connected your friendship is over what works you're doing for one another.
Yes. Oh man, I do think something changed in what I was doing for friends, with friends, what I was needing from friends and with friends when my relationship with the Lord became more of a friendship with the Lord. Like
Yeah.
when I would say when I was in a works based faith where it was really about what I was doing and what I
There
wasn't
you go.
doing.
Okay.
I believe that there was probably a season where, and maybe not the besties who were just like, we're going hard, we're having fun in every facet of life. There are
Yeah.
certain friends that just like stick. But there's probably a season in my adulthood where friends were strictly as work based as my expectation was on God.
Yeah.
Like you do some things for me, I do some things for you.
Yes.
If I do these things for you, you're gonna do these things for me. And if I don't measure up to this moral standard, then what kind
Yeah.
of and I would say I could see there being a mirror in what I expected from friends and what I thought friends should expect out of me. That's really good. But these are the characteristics of God that I believe make him the very best friend to have. So if you are feeling a void, don't sleep on the idea that you've got a big old God that's out there that really loves you a lot and likes you. He likes you. And he knows everything. He knows the groanings of your heart that you can't articulate. He knows that. And he still wants to spend time with you. As much time as you want. And he's patient and he's kind. And he's honest. And he's real. And he's concise. And he's a good listener. And he's extremely patient. And he's very gracious. He's the most gracious, right? He'll forgive you before you ask for it. He's moved on because of the way that he defines the loving friendship, right? Like the First Corinthians, love is patient, love is kind. You hear it in, like weddings and stuff. It was designed, I mean, in its context, it is the way that we are supposed to express friendship and companionship with people. Love is patient, love is kind. Love is not proud, it does not boast. It keeps no record of wrong. I mean, if you read 1 Corinthians 13 about love, that is the way in which we expect God to love us. This is the kind of contract he's given us. Like, you want to know the kind of love I'm going to have for you? But he's also saying, you spend enough time with me, you're going to love like that. You get in enough proximity with me, and you're transparent enough with me, honest enough with me, humble before me. You spend enough time, and I'm not just talking about reading the Bible, because I know a lot of people that read the Bible every day. There is no expression of love in the way that they live.
And
So there has to be
relationship.
a relational tie to what you're reading in the Bible and what you're doing when you're talking to God about it. And when we just hand over our expectations, our ambitions, our thoughts, our behaviors, when we just start becoming more vulnerable and more honest and more transparent with God, in exchange, he transforms us into the loving kind of people that he loves us by. And that's the kind. I think there's still way more that I can learn about not being jealous, not being proud, keeping records of wrong. Like, as I'm saying it, I'm feeling convicted myself on being better at loving my friends, my husband, my kids, the people I work with.
Yeah.
And my family. Like, I could get better at it. And so, anyway, I'm just like, I want, for anybody that's listening, I want you to have great friends. I want you to have a few friends that you have symmetry, support, and secrecy with. And I also want for you to spend enough time with God that he fills whatever voids you give to friends that aren't for friends to give to you.
Yeah.
And I want for him to transform you and me and us in a way that when we show up for friends, we give them the kind of love that God gives them, you know?
And, you know, if you're also in a season of isolation, I know when I first came to the Lord, I kind of had a season of isolation, and it was necessary. It was necessary for me to grow closer to him.
Yeah.
And to look to him versus the exterior world to provide me for things. He was actually pruning something in me.
Good.
That allowed me to realize, like, and I remember in a prayer asking him, like, what is this isolation for? I don't understand it. I don't want it. And through time, what was really revealed to me is that I needed to become best friends with Jesus. Because that is the secret sauce to be best friends, like, here on this earth. And it was without the isolation, I don't think I would have got there. And during that time, you know, friendships were removed from my life. Friendships were gained in my life. And for the first time ever, and this is how I knew 100% I was actually learning to walk with the Lord, is I was able to let those things go peacefully.
Yeah.
And peacefully isn't just like, oh, there wasn't
Conflict.
words, there wasn't conflict. Like, in my heart, it really was like, okay, you're gonna go out of my life now, and I truly want nothing but love and peace and wonderful things for you.
Right.
And I'm also totally at peace that like our relationship can end here.
Yeah.
And that type of peace, I don't think I would have ever been able, I could have never ended a friendship peacefully like that in my heart without Jesus. So it was a season of isolation that allowed me to grow closer to him, also taught me how to be a better friend. And then not only did he, like, remove friendships that didn't serve either people, he brought in new ones. And I remember one day I just looked and I was like, whoa, you cared about that? You did. You cared about that. And unfortunately, because you are a good friend, you had to allow me to be uncomfortable, and you had to, like, show me some truth for me to now be really fulfilled.
Wow.
So if you're in a season that feels isolating, or you don't feel like you have your people, or you've been, you know, asking God, like show me my people, I want to give you a lot of encouragement in this season, because sometimes pruning cannot be done comfortably. Right. And what God can be preparing you for is friendships that are beyond what you could ever grasp for yourself. And that, you know, I love the saying, like, God does not waste a wound. And if you do have a wound from friendships right now, whether he chooses to redeem that friendship, you guys to move on, whatever it might be, like, you, as much as you have to believe that God can bring people into your life, you also have to believe that he can heal that wound, because that's important for the next step.
So good.
So I wanted to give that encouragement. I think we've tried to cover a lot on friendships, and I think it would be really cool too to hear what you guys are working through yourselves.
Totally.
With friendships.
Yeah.
And if any part of this episode is, you know, speaking to you guys, we want to hear about it. Or
Totally.
If you have any really cool story about how, like, God brought you your people, we totally want to hear about it in the comments.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. That's so good. And we want to pray for your friendships. So let me just pray for you guys. Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go.
Holy Spirit, we just thank you so much that you have come to us, that we didn't have to go and reach for you and search for you. But God, when we knocked on your door, you answered it and you gave us the Holy Spirit. And we just thank you for that. And we thank you that you are a generous friend. You're a kind friend. You show us unconditional, loving kindness. And we are so grateful that first you've chosen to be our friend.
Yes.
And second, that you have given us the kind of power inside of us that can transform us to be the type of friend that blesses the world. And even if our world is a very small one, that you still want to bring blessing to the people around us in the way that we show up for them. And God, I pray for the women and whoever that are listening right now. God, I just ask that you help them to see what areas they're setting expectations on friendship that belong exclusively with you. What areas they are expecting out of humans that only you can fulfill. And I pray that you align their hearts to you and your purposes for them. And then I pray, God, that you allow for them to create internal systems of showing up in front of you regularly and self-reflecting, self-discovery, but not just from ourselves, but discovery from your vantage point, your perspective, Father. And I pray that you transform them from the inside out so that they can feel whole, they can feel connected, mind, body, spirit, and soul. And that they feel the safety, the most safe friendship that they have is with you. And then, God, I pray that you give them the eyes to see and the ears to hear the way that they could be friends with others and show the world, their little world that they live in, the kind of friendship that they can be, the kind of friend that you are to them. I pray that you just help them to love just extravagantly and generously to the people that are around them. And God, I pray that you give them just the few that they need, the close few, that if they don't have it right now, God, I pray that they have eyes to see the ones that they can receive reciprocal symmetry, support, and secrecy from. And we just know, God, that you're in this. You're in this conversation. You're in wherever somebody's listening right now, God. I pray that you just meet them right where they're at and give them the word that they need. And God, I pray that if there was anything that Alicia and I said that is not from you, I pray that you just throw it in the trash and that nobody remembers the things that came exclusively from our finite minds, but that you elevate whatever was from you. And we just pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
In Jesus' name.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Please like, subscribe. I just shifted into another gear. It is awesome. I just jumped. I jumped
like
up
her.
to octaves.
Who is she?
She is needing to go to soccer practice is what she needs
I like
to do.
her. Bring her back. Bring her.
Let's go. Yeah. So anyway, I do have to go. I have to go. We gotta go. But subscribe. Please share the podcast with your friends, your people.
Yeah, share with your friends.
And then definitely please tell us if there's any way that we can just minister to you better. If there's a topic you guys want us to cover, if there was something that happened in this conversation that ministered to you and caused you to, do something really rad, please let us know at contact@blacksheepbelievers.com, or you can DM us at our social media, which is at Black Sheep Believers. Yeah.
Podcast.
Anything else?
No. Love you guys. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.